Welcome to the TNT Podcast, where we discuss all of the hottest current events within hip-hop culture, album reviews, politics within the music industry, and more. You all know me by Tellurian. I am one half of the TNT Podcast, and of course, I have my brother here with me.
Yes, sir. My name is Timothy. I'm the other half of the TNT Podcast, and we're here with the shits. We are bringing unbiased, unfiltered, honest conversations about hip-hop and the culture. So if you're sensitive about your favorite artist or public figure, go on ahead to the next podcast, but you can still follow us though. Just remember, these are our opinions and we are only speaking on behalf of us. Thank you all for tuning in.
All social media platforms will be in the description for each and every episode, so don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Peace and love.
Welcome back. Episode 55 of the TNT Podcast. TNT, TN motherfucking T. Y'all know me by Timothy. I am one half of the TNT Podcast. And of course, I am joined here today with my brother from another mother. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. This is the other half of the TNT Podcast, Tellurian. And yeah, man, we got a good one today. Episode 55. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get right into it. How are you? How was your weekend? What'd you get into?
My weekend. What did I do this weekend? What did I do? I hung out. Hung out with my friend. We went to the bar. It was his first time really being in the bar. He had a good time. He drank a lot. Had a lot of tacos. What else did we do? Went to a couple parties. So I guess we did do a lot. So yeah, we went to like 2 parties, and then we going to some bars around this area, and then really that was pretty much it. Just eating, drinking. Pretty much that was it. Hanging out, and yeah, it was a good weekend. Pretty chill. That was pretty much it. And then besides that was just like in the house. What about you, bro? What you getting into?
I did absolutely nothing this past weekend. Raquel, she took a trip with one of her friends. She went to Abilene, Texas. So I actually had the house to myself this past weekend. And let me just tell you, I did nothing but fucking relax.
Yeah.
It was great. All I did was eat and sit on the couch. I'm pretty sure I gained at least 10, 20 pounds this past weekend. It was great. And also, I was super, super excited to, put out our Chris Teague episode. And let me just tell you, man, that the response to that was great. I was a bit overwhelmed. I appreciate all the love and positivity that everybody gave.
Thank y'all.
That was a lot, man. I'm still new to this. You know me, man. I'm introverted as shit. So this was, it was a bit overwhelming to me, but I appreciate it. And I appreciate Chris coming to hang out with us on the podcast. That was an amazing episode.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. We love you, bro.
Yeah, man. We love you to death. Make sure y'all go stream, download, buy the Unavailable EP.
Yes, sir.
I've gotten a lot of responses, man. A lot of people have told me that they listen to it like when we put the episode out and they love it.
Yep. I know a few people that were in me in my DMs that was like, yeah, bro, it's a great EP. And I was like, yeah, it's great music for real. Like real music.
Yeah. That was a big part of my weekend. I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to put that episode out, man. I was really excited. So
same. I wanted to put it out the day we did it, low key. I was like, man, this is a good episode. Like while we were doing it, I was saying it was a good episode.
Yeah, man. But no, I didn't get into anything this weekend. Just at home doing a bunch of nothing. But I don't know, man. Let's just get straight to the shits today. We don't have no music talk for y'all. We don't have no real topics or anything. We're talking about the Joe Budden fiasco, debacle, the whole situation that's been kind of unraveling for the past 2 weeks. So You know, we're gonna get to the music talk in episode 56. I know y'all are wanting the J. Cole conversation. Is coming. We're gonna discuss the J. Cole album.
It's coming.
We've listened to it. I've listened to it at least 100 times already. So I think I'm well equipped to discuss this album. But that's coming to episode 56. We're going to be talking about Joe Budden this entire episode. So if you don't want to hear about Joe Budden, just go on ahead and just hit the stop button and, turn it off. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and we're actually going to get into we're gonna go into detail. We're gonna take this all the way back to the very beginning. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here. There's a lot of stuff to cover here. I've been following Joe Budden for a long time. And I've been watching this situation sort of unfold. And it's unfortunate that it's gotten to where it's gotten. But I really want to take it back to the beginning, and actually maybe we should just start. Let's start here. Let's start with love. We'll do what Joe Budden does on his podcast. We'll start with love.
Yeah, we'll start with love. I like that.
We've talked before about how influential Joe Budden has been to our platform here at the TNT podcast. I feel like we wouldn't have a podcast, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without Joe Budden. He really kind of showed us that you can really create a large platform with you just sitting in the room having the conversation amongst your friends. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there was other shows before his, but there hasn't been a podcast that's been as important to the culture as his podcast.
Exactly. That reached another level, and they actually got a BET award, and so that shows you how big that podcast was.
Yeah, and the fact that they were able to go on tour with it, they came across a lot of deals, which we're going to get into. With all that being said, Joe Budden, I know, I'm going to say some things. I'm going to say some things on this episode, but I love Joe Budden. I love Joe Budden as a rapper, as an MC.
Same. And yeah. Before we even get into people talking about the podcast, for the people that be dissing Joe Budden as a rapper, dude really is a great MC. There's a reason he was on Slaughterhouse. So I know people be trying to go in on Joe Budden as far as rapping wise. They be like, he ain't had a hit since Pump It Up. We're not doing that. Joe Budden is a real MC, so let's shut that down first of all. But yes, he is an MC. He was a real MC. But I feel like people be trying to display or downplay. How great of an MC he was. They be like, Joe Budden's trash. I'm like, all right, I'm not trying to hear it.
He is definitely an elite MC. However, with that being said, a lot of people did say that he was the weakest member of Slaughterhouse.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to say what I feel.
I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. But he is a great MC, though.
Yeah, he was, that was a collective of some of the dopest MCs that we had in hip hop. I don't really want to, rate them. I just want to say that all four of them were great lyricists, in their own right.
Thanks.
So yes, I do agree that he was an incredible lyricist. He has a way with words, which we all know, because some of the shit that has actually happened is because he can sometimes be very narcissistic, and sometimes when he says things, he just has a way with words. He has a way with words. He's very, very, very good with words. I'll say that. But with all that being said, he has inspired us here on the TNT podcast, and he's inspired just kind of the platform and the way we discuss topics and hip hop and the way we approach certain things and stuff like that. So I just want to salute to Joe Budden for being what I'm going to say is a pioneer to this podcasting thing. He took this podcasting thing to the next level, all the way to the next level.
Yeah.
So I just want to salute to him for that. Now let's get to the shits.
Let's get to the real talk.
Because there's a lot of shit to unpack here. So I wanna go all the way back to a very, very weird time. This was maybe 2017. This was right around the Drake beef. This was right around the time he got into his beef with Drake, and Rage in the Machine came out, and he did an interview with Hot 97 that was very, very weird. And if you know what I'm talking about, you could kind of tell back then that this was the start of what I would like to say this new Joe. It was the start of this new Joe. And you know, as we talk about this and as we break this all down, you know, people are probably going to be like, "Why do you know all of this? Like, how do you know so much about this?"
Yeah, I mean, because I was watching that interview the other day, and I don't know, I've just watched Joe Budden for a while, so that's why we know a lot about Joe Budden, and we watched the Joe Budden podcast, so we didn't just follow him as just a rapper. We followed the podcast too, so that's kind of why we know so much about it. We've been watching Joe for a while,
Yeah, and that was what I was gonna say. I was a fan of Joe Budden first as an MC, so I really knew Joe Budden as a rapper before he was a media personality or whatever you want to call him. So that's why, you know, when we discuss this, there's going to be it's a lot to go, it's a lot to cover. A lot happened. But I wanted to start with the weird Hot 97 interview because I think that interview played a small, teeny tiny role in all of this. During that interview, it was a very, very weird. The energy was off. It was a different type of Joe Budden, you know what I'm saying, that we saw. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know, people in the industry, people that are around him, his friends, his peers, they probably knew how Joe operated at that time. But that was the first time that, you know, we, the fans, were just kind of like seeing Joe in that light. And, you know, a lot of people might say maybe Love and Hip Hop because he was on Love and Hip Hop looking crazy. Let me just right now, he's on Love and Hip Hop looking crazy.
I was watching him on there too. And I don't even like Love and Hip Hop.
That's a fact. Joe Budden is, you know, I didn't really watch Love and Hip Hop faithfully like that, but I did watch it because of Joe Budden. Joe Budden is the
exactly. It's certain things I was watching because Joe Budden was on it, or he was talking about something, or he was just there or whatever.
Right. So during the Hot 97 interview, and this is how you know. This is how you know a nigga is nuts. When Joe was beefing with Drake, the nigga released 3 diss tracks before Drake even put out one. Like, this is how you know. Like,
that's a psycho.
What's wrong with him?
That's a psycho person, bro.
What's wrong with this nigga? So that was the reason why he was doing the interview with Hot 97, because they wanted to know, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And in doing that interview, Marissa Mendez worked there at the time at Hot 97, personality as well. We mentioned her in episode 52 of the TNT podcast, where we kind of talked lightly about the situation. If y'all haven't listened to that, go check out episode 52 of the TNT podcast. Shameless plug. But Marissa Mendez was there, and the way that he was responding, because Peter Rosenberg, who also works at Hot 97, they both played a role in the conception of the Joe Budden podcast. And the way that he was treating both Peter and Marissa in that interview, it was just like, yo, like, what is wrong? What is wrong with this guy? And so there is when we start talking about Rory and Mal, I do place some blame on them. I do place some of the blame on them because they should have known that Joe was a bit crazy from the beginning. But I wanted to start there with the Hot 97 interview because that's when we first kind of got to see how Joe was and how he dealt with people, how he dealt with his relationships, his friendships, and things like that. And just to give context, Marissa Mendez was fired from the Joe Budden podcast via text message. And she was there in the very beginning. She was fired via text message for something that Rosenberg had said on one of his radio shows, and she didn't have anything to do with it. It was a situation where she just happened to walk into work one day, and Rosenberg had mentioned, something about Joe Budden's crazy or something like that. And, she was like, what's the problem? What's the issue? Next thing you know, she gets a text message and she's fired. So that right there already goes to show that Joe really has no regards for anyone and doesn't care about anyone. And when they approached him about that, or not really approached, because I mean he went to the interview, they brought it up. They just wanted to know, why he went about it that way. And the way that he was responding, he was just like, I don't give a fuck about y'all. Like, I don't care how y'all feel. Y'all are grown. We're all grown. And they were just kind of trying to explain to him, like, that's not the way you deal with people. That's not the way you deal with friends. That's not the way you deal with, working relationships. That's not the way you deal with people. That's just not the way you deal with people. And at the time, I can honestly say that I was a bit naive. Because going back to Joe Budden is really, really good with words. He's really, really good with words. He's really, really good with making you believe that he's the victim. He's really
man, because I was watching that interview and I was like, bruh, he's switching this around and he's doing it very well, because he almost has me convinced. And then I had to think about it. I was like, no, he's crazy. I was like, I had to come back to who I was again. I was like, wait a minute, nah, this is crazy. But he almost had me for a second. Just hearing him talking in an interview, he'll almost just get anybody. Unless you just really paying attention. But he almost got me, and I was like, nah. I was like, this man is crazy. I need to come back to my senses again. I was like, yeah, he went about that whole situation terribly.
Yeah, and you gotta watch out for people like that. Those are the kind of people that you gotta fucking watch.
They'll kill you possibly. You be like, yo, you are like you like a sweet talker, or you try to turn this around on me, and you kind of manipulative with them words. That's kind of crazy. He almost used like powers in interviews. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, Joe Budden is so good with words that he's one of those kind of people that will make you question your existence. Like, he'll make you be like, okay, why am I here again? All right, and why did I wear these shoes today? Like, he'll make you question yourself. Like, that's how good with words he is. And that's when I knew that all right, this guy, there's something else in this guy. So fast forward, let's go to Complex. Let's go to Everyday Struggle.
Oh man,
I remember seeing the promo video for Everyday Struggle, and I thought this is going to be the greatest thing ever. Like, this is going to be the greatest hip hop show in history. You have someone who represents the older generation, and not only represents the older generation, but he was in it. Like, he lived it, he breathed it, he was in the industry, he was a rapper, he saw it firsthand. And then you have someone who represents the younger generation. They're going to come together and they're going to have this debate show. And I love debates. Like, I love debate shows. I love watching ESPN. I just love watching.
So do I.
Debate. Yeah. I love watching people debate about stuff that they're passionate about. Like, it really, I don't know, it really intrigues me, I guess. So I thought that Everyday Struggle was literally going to be the greatest thing ever. And I could already start to see there was, weird things that would happen, like the Migos situation, like with the BET Migos situation.
Oh man.
We saw the footage, all three Migos stood up in unison. And they were getting ready to smack Joe Budden. You could see his hands up in the corner of the camera. And, you know, this was one of the things, I think I may have talked to Jonathan about this. Shout out to Jonathan. Back when this happened, when that whole Migos thing went down, Rory, Mal, and Joe on the podcast kind of threw Academics under the bus. They threw Academics under the bus, and they kind of made him look crazy. When Academics was the one who literally got up and he tried to stop and control that whole situation. he tried to.
And if you go back and watch it, you can see DJ Academics he didn't start anything. He was really trying to calm everything down, but because Joe was the one that did he drop the mic and just walk off? I can't remember how he even did. I just remember watching. It seemed like he dropped the mic. It's like, end it, blah, 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 end it. And then it's like he didn't end it. He just dropped the mic. I was like, okay, that ain't how you end it, but okay.
Yeah, that was 100% bad on Joe's part. And that was the reason why I'm bringing Academics up, because Academics does play a role in this. And I remember me, you, and Justin, we had a conversation after we got done recording episode 50. We had a conversation and we all talked about, you know, the Joe Budden situation. This was before, you know, Rory was fired. This was before all of that. This was when they were still on break. I had told you guys that I think that DJ Academics definitely played a hand in this whole situation. And when Joe fired Rory, he pretty much confirmed that, you know, Academics played a part in it. But anyway, what I was going to say was I had a conversation with Jonathan about that, because Jonathan liked Everyday Struggle too, just as much as I did. And I was just telling him that I wasn't really rocking with the way they kind of called Academics out on the Joe Budden podcast about that. You know, they were pretty much calling him pussy and saying that, you know, he ain't about nothing, you know what I'm saying, all this crazy shit. And I was just kind of like, I didn't really rock with the way that whole situation kind of came about, because I think even there was footage apparently that didn't come out, or that got deleted or something like that during that interview with the Migos, where someone from the Migos camp confronted Joe. And during the interview, they confronted him and they were like, yo, you need to relax. And they took that part out of the interview and they just completely like made Academics look terrible. And I wasn't rocking with that. So that was another situation where I was just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really fucking with Joe for that. And then, you know, there was talks about, because at first Everyday Struggle was a Monday through Thursday show. And then they incorporated the Friday episode, where they had to have other guests come on because Joe Budden didn't want to do the Friday episode, I guess. And there was a lot of issues. Joe Budden had a lot of issues with them interviewing guests and, you know, ads and the disclaimer in the beginning of the episode, you know, the little disclaimer that would come on before that would say, you know, none of the stuff that we talk about on the show, you know, like we can't be held accountable, blah, 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 all that bullshit. It's just our opinion and all that kind of shit. He had issues with everything. Like, this nigga had issues with everything.
At the end, that really just sounds like control, bro. He wants to control every single part and aspect of everything. But you got to think about, you're with two other people. You can't control every single thing. Y'all have to come to an agreement on something.
So, yeah, you're absolutely correct when you say that. The reason why I'm talking about the Everyday Struggle situation is because I think Joe approaches these situations with the idea of, well, if I'm the creator, then I should have the final say on everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, that's weird, because that's a scary mentality to have, because if that brand is growing, not because that brand didn't grow with just you. It grew with two other people. And so if it's growing with two other people, that means it wouldn't be as big with just you. So I think that's one thing he didn't understand. I think he tried to use like his rapping career because, you know, even though we're fans of Joe Budden, there's people that don't even listen to Joe Budden, and like he still made music, and he wouldn't have huge crowds at his concerts and stuff like that. So these big crowds and stuff he was getting because other people were a part of what he was doing, Everyday Struggle and the Joe Budden Podcast. Because the Joe Budden Podcast wasn't just him, and that made it that big. It was literally the two other people, Rory and Mal, that made it as big as it was. So I think his approach, even with Everyday Struggle, was off. So that's another thing. So it was just like, it was a pattern. If you don't, you know, if you see a pattern, like they always say, I always hear the saying, don't go off potential, go off patterns. Like, you know, and so, yeah, man, his patterns were showing that from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an absolute fact. What you said is absolutely correct about, you know, you may be the creator of this content, but what brings the audience is not just you. It's the dynamic of you and the two other people that are sitting there with you, whether it's the Joe Budden Podcast, whether it's Complex, whether it's you know, Slaughterhouse. Like, we listen to Slaughterhouse for all four of you, not just for you. And that was one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure it was one of the reasons why Slaughterhouse broke up. I mean, he's confirmed that, you know, the reason why Slaughterhouse broke up. And I didn't even want to go back that far. You know what I'm saying? We're starting with, you know, the Hot 97 thing, because I wanted to do that because I'm leading up to where we are now. This behavior that Joe Budden has kind of exhibited kind of leads up to where we are now. But the Everyday Struggle thing, you know, a lot of people called it. They said that it wasn't going to last very long because Joe Budden, you know, he's self-destructive, as we said before. And again, I was naive. I was like, nah, like, he ain't gonna, like, you know what I'm saying? This ain't gonna end. This is great. Like, the numbers that this thing is doing, the cultural impact, the moments, all of that. They have everything. Like, they have everything that they need here. And Joe Budden fucked that up too. You know what I'm saying? Joe Budden messed that up too.
It always seemed like it ends, or it's not as successful, or I'm not saying that right. No, it seemed like when things are starting to like get like go higher and higher and blow up, it's like it crashes right afterwards because Joe did or said something. It's like it's becoming even bigger and bigger, and then it's just like just crash.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that might be why we never got the Slaughterhouse album, you know, even though we don't want to go back that far, but I'm just really thinking, because I kept getting ready and was ready to hear a Slaughterhouse album. I'm like, that was probably part of it. That was probably why it never happened. Then Everyday Struggle, then the Joe Budden Podcast. It's like every time, like, who knows what would have happened, like the cultural impact of the lyricism that Slaughterhouse had on the, like, who knows what would have opened. Like, that could have opened other labels. That probably could have opened up some different ownership just for them. Who knows? Different brands. We just don't know. And I just feel like his destructive behavior with his words, it messes up a lot of stuff, or practically everything, almost kind of that he touches that's in like the forefront of the media. It's kind of, yeah, it's almost like you might need to go to some therapy session, bro. That's kind of bad. Well, that's really bad, actually.
Yeah, he needs more than therapy, and I think all of that comes from just being. I think maybe Ebro said. I think Ebro said it in the interview, the Hot 97 interview. He said that, you know, Joe has been wronged his whole entire career, and you know, Joe talks about that a lot. He talks about, you know, being fucked over by Def Jam and fucked over by all the labels that he's been signed to, and accountants have taken money from him and all kind of shit. And I think what it is for him is he's trying to, because he is definitely a brilliant mind. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely a brilliant mind. he was, you know, and again, like all of the stuff that we're saying, you know, with the everyday struggle thing and the Joe Budden podcast, these were all great things. Like these were all great things. And the reason why it's you know, it's bad or not good is because it's like you're giving us all this great stuff and you're fucking it up and burning bridges. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think you have to, I think he has the kind of mentality where he's trying to be like a boss, but it's coming
going about it.
Yeah, he's trying to be a boss, but it's coming off as him trying to be the boss. And they're to me, they're
awesome.
Yeah,
because great leaders want to hear other people's perspective and opinions about something. They don't want it to just, oh, it needs to be my way or the highway. I feel like he's almost like that about everything. It's my way, nigga, or y'all can leave. Like what? Nobody wants to be under that. And then the thing is, it says the Joe Budden podcast, but he was acting like everybody worked for him. Like, no, nigga, it's not. The contract is not set up like that, from what I've heard.
Yeah, so that I'm glad that you brought that up because after the complex situation, everybody should know by now that the Joe Budden podcast was not always the Joe Budden podcast. It was called I'll Name This Podcast Later. That was the name first. And with that being said, we'll name this episode later. No, it was called I'll Name This Podcast Later. And when he changed it to the Joe Budden podcast, I thought that was a little weird. I was like,
yep, he trying to run everything. Telling you.
Yeah, I was like, why? I like the name I'll Name This Podcast Later. I think that was a fucking dope name. Like, I'll name this podcast later. Like, that shit is fire. And then he changed it to the Joe Budden podcast, and he kind of explained, you know, the reason for that. I think he said it was like more so him being the creator of the podcast. All of the places that they shop the podcast around at, they wanted he was the main talent, so they wanted it. They wanted the name to be more so revolved around him. Which that at that point, that's when I was kind of like, okay. So this was the first sign. And, you know, it's crazy because Charlemagne, he kind of called all of this. He kind of called
Charlemagne.
And back then, I would have probably said, I think that Charlemagne could see the future. But now I just kind of chalk it up to Joe being a psychopath.
Patterns. He saw the patterns. He saw the pattern for probably a lot of people saw the pattern. And then I'm pretty sure there were people that saw the patterns that just didn't say nothing about it.
Yeah. So after the complex thing, which I will say, the Everyday Struggle show did last for a while afterwards. Of course, they added Leno, they had Star for a little while. What I'm trying to say is that I think that when Joe was there on Everyday Struggle, I think that's when Everyday Struggle was at its peak. That's when it was the best. It was the best version of itself. And I think, I think Joe Budden leaving that because he didn't have the kind of creative control that he wanted to have. I ultimately think that that's the reason why we don't have Everyday Struggle anymore. Because I think when Joe left, a lot of the audience left. Of course. Of course, Academics kept his audience. Deska, you know, she had the people that watched it for her. But I think when Joe left, that was pretty. That was
a big part of the audience that left. Yeah.
That was a huge part of the audience. He explained the reason why he left Everyday Struggle. Of course, it was creative. It was creative differences. I even remember him saying that he was upset about a situation where he was trying to smoke a cigarette in the bathroom and they wouldn't let him smoke in the bathroom. And that was an issue for him. And I was just like, yo, this guy is nuts. This guy is nuts.
Wow. Whatever happened with State of the Culture?
Yeah, we brought that up last time. I'm not too sure, but I'm glad you brought that up because Scotty Beam was also present during that Hot 97 interview, and she was there to see the craziness, and she was on State of the Culture, and she ended up leaving State of the Culture for unknown reasons. And then they replaced her with Ebony K. Williams. I'm not too sure why Scotty Beam left. Maybe they did address that. Maybe they didn't. I don't remember seeing it, but I just remember her not being on it anymore after that. And I'm wondering if that had something to do with Joe.
Could have been, because I remember watching that and I was like, this is really good too. And then it just disappeared. And I was like, okay. It's like almost like it disappeared without them saying anything. It was just over or something.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it ever stopped, or I guess it just stopped abruptly or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what exactly happened with that. Like you said, they haven't really said much about it. I know Ebony K. Williams, she just got added to Real Housewives of New York, so she's a part of that show. Not too sure. I think Remy Ma is still on Love and Hip Hop, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not sure what happened to Jinx. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, that was right after the Everyday Struggle situation. That came around right after the Everyday Struggle situation. He ended up partnering up with Diddy at Revolt, and I think that was the beginning of this version. Well, I don't want to say the beginning, but because I think we saw it first during the Hot 97 interview. But I think him partnering up with Diddy was the first version of him trying to be a boss. Like he was trying to be the next Diddy. He was trying to follow the footsteps of Diddy, and he did it the wrong way, completely did it the wrong way. And actually, I don't even want to say that because I can't say the way somebody handled their business was wrong. I just think that the way he handled Rory and Mal was wrong. I'll say that. I'll say the way he handled Rory and Mal was wrong. And I noticed right up, before the whole situation of Joe asking Rory to take a break from the podcast and Mal and him going on a strike and all that, the tension had been off for a long time. Like the tension had been off for a long time. If you were an avid watcher of the Joe Budden podcast, you could tell that the energy was off. Rory was kind of like lashing out sometimes, and Mal was just kind of like, staying quiet off to himself. And some of the episodes, he was like literally on his phone, like texting on his phone, not even paying attention to what was going on.
Man.
And you could just see that, shit was off. And DJ Academics played a part in all this. And I knew it. I knew DJ Academics had played a part in it.
Same.
When that whole situation happened with the Migos thing, and Rory and Mal kind of saying shit about DJ Academics, that started this whole narrative of DJ Academics being bullied.
Yeah.
And after a while, he got tired of it. And he started to respond. And I think, when he started responding to it, it put them all in a weird situation. Like it put the friendship, Rory, Mal, and Joe in a weird situation because it's like Joe has a relationship with Academics.
Yeah, almost like you gotta pick a side, or they were probably putting them in a pick a side situation.
But I think it put him in a situation where it was like, how do you expect Joe to be able to? Because he has a relationship with DJ Academics, right? They work together. As we stated, they had a great dynamic on Everyday Struggle, but Rory and Mal are his two counterparts. They're his two counterparts. They work together every single day. And, once DJ Academics started to respond, he started to diss Rory and Mal 100 miles at 100 miles per hour. Like he was going crazy. He was going crazy on Maul and more specifically Rory.
Rory, yeah, bro.
Rory went through a lot of shit. He went through a lot of shit, and I think when that whole situation was kind of going down, as Joe explained in the episode, when he fired Rory, he was kind of just explaining that, there was conversations that were had, and Rory didn't really like the fact that Joe was still cool with academics, and apparently Joe and academics were, as we talked about, me, you, and Justin talked about, they were planning on, or I don't know if they're still planning on it, but they are going to be working together again in the future. I don't know if it's going to be for a podcast. I don't know what it's going to be. But I think they do have plans to work together again. And Rory didn't like that. Maul didn't like that either. And I don't know. I don't know. I want to speak to that because I'm of the belief that you're not supposed to inherit beefs. If you have an issue with somebody, I don't have to inherit that beef. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. If I don't like somebody, if I don't fuck with somebody, I can't expect you to be like, don't fuck with that person either just because I don't fuck with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. Unless it's a situation where it was like, a nigga tried to kill me. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was just about to say. If somebody's putting you, if a person I rock with, and like if I rock with one person and I rock with another person, and one of the people that I rock with was trying to put that other person in harm's way or in danger, I'm not rocking with the other person.
Yeah.
Because you're coming in the situation with ill intent. So I'm not rocking with you. And I don't like dealing with people that have ill intent towards somebody. And I'm talking about on some wanting to kill the person. I'm like, yeah, I'm not rocking, or not even kill, just or kill or like harm that person. So I'm really not rocking with you, period.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Unless you're trying to kill me. Other than that, I mean, I wouldn't expect you to have beef with somebody that I necessarily don't like. And then in their situation, Rory and Maul, they started it. They were the ones who called academics pussy and said that he was this and that. And then academics responded. And then it turned into what it turned into. You can't really expect Joe to protect you and save you. You're your own man. You know what I'm saying? You're your own man. So, and that's why.
Yeah, I wouldn't even expect Joe Budden to.
Yeah, and they work together. They work together at the end of the day. I mean, I think Ak and Joe Budden, they made money together, and that could be a relationship down the line that he could return to, and they can make money together again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even though Joe Budden discussed how he burns all of his bridges. I just think that the way that situation was handled, I think Joe was a little bit right in that situation, because later on down the line, one of the reasons why academics, because he really started like every single video that academics would upload on his Twitch, he would say something about Rory every single day. Every day. Every fucking day.
Oh, bro. Every day, bro.
Every day. However, he may have been justified. He may have been justified because academics at first, and I didn't know if this was true at first. I mean, academics is not somebody that lies about shit. He's really all about the truth, and he be keeping receipts. Like he be keeping receipts on all these rappers. Anybody that be trying to lie on him, he be on it. You know what I'm saying? As much as
that's one thing I can say about academics. He definitely got receipts for things that rappers do say, and he got proof of it. It's almost kind of scary. You be thinking like, dang, are you part of the paparazzi or something? Are you part of the people that be exposing celebrities and stuff? Like, bro, it's kind of scary. It'd be scary how like true it is.
Yeah. He keeps receipts, man. And at first, I didn't know whether to believe him or not. But apparently, Rory pulled up to DJ Academics' house and tried to intimidate him. Left a note in his mailbox, and it said some things. And once Rory did that, at that point he crossed the line. He crossed the line at that point, which Joe Budden explains. You can't be maneuvering like that, especially when you're in business. You know what I'm saying? Making all this money. You know what I'm saying? You're in the public eye. You can't be doing that kind of shit. So, like I said at the beginning, I do think that Rory and Mal, they do have. I put some of the blame on them. I do put some of the blame on them. I think that was 100% out of bounds. Rory should have never did that to DJ Academics. And in turn, that actually caused DJ Academics to go and dig up some dirt. He went and dug up some dirt. And I would like to say that Academics is the reason why Rory no longer has a fiance. It's the reason why he's no longer getting married. And it's so bad when you really put things into perspective, man. Like Rory was really going through it. He was really going through it, and I think that was the reason why there was a lot of hostility on the podcast, because he was going back and forth with Academics. He was having troubles in his relationship. The business wasn't good with the podcast. It was a lot. It was a lot going on, and so. Push that to the side. I think over the past few weeks, I've realized that Mal and Joe were closer friends than what I thought. You know what I'm saying?
Bro. They've been through it together.
Yeah, they've Mal's been there since the beginning, because I remember them talking about Mal being in Slaughterhouse Sessions. I do remember him being on a few episodes of Love and Hip Hop. So Mal's been there for a long time. And Joe kind of went into that. He said that Rory came later. Mal was there first, Rory came later. As far as friendships, Rory was first on the podcast, and then Mal came to the podcast later.
Yeah.
But Mal was there as far as friendships first, way before Rory. And just hearing Mal's and Rory's response, listening to Mal, man, like Mal just, Joe has burned pretty much all of his bridges, and the two bridges that he should not have burned was Rory and Mal, and more so Mal, because Mal strikes me as that friend that's gonna, like, you know what I'm saying, that's gonna have your back through whatever, you know what I'm saying. And I know that at the end of the day we're speaking on other people's situation, people that we don't know, but it's never good to see.
It translates to just real life.
Yeah,
to like everyday people.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, the podcast was great. It was good content. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of laughs and a lot of high moments, but at the end of the day, we just witnessed a real friendship end. Like, we just witnessed a real friendship end. And I said it in episode 52, man. Like, I knew that this was going to happen. I said that I didn't think that Mal and Rory were going to be able to sit there and have conversations every day like nothing happened. Like, I couldn't see that happening. We found out in Rory and Mal's response that the business side of things wasn't that great. And a lot of things were revealed that had me super surprised. It had me super fucking surprised, because the first thing in my head that I thought about was TNT Podcast episode 28, where we talked about ownership. We had a whole entire conversation, entire conversation about Joe Budden and ownership. He was the focal point of that conversation. If y'all haven't heard episode 28 of the TNT Podcast, actually, I was going to tell y'all to go back and listen to it, but after all this information that's kind of unfolded, I almost don't want to delete that episode, like, on some real shit. Like, I really don't even want that episode to be there, because I feel like,
I honestly feel like we should just keep it just in a sense of learning the situation or what the situation has become.
Yeah,
because it just kind of shows you we thought it was like this, then we heard the truth. Now we realize it's like this type of thing.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And you know, when I'm saying I want to delete the episode, I'm just saying that I just can't believe that we sat there and had a full on conversation about creators, you know what I'm saying, and ownership, and making sure that all creators get what they're worth. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like we've watched 175 episodes of the Joe Budden podcast where these were the things that they were advocating. You know, Joe Budden was saying that he wanted creators to get what they were worth, and all creators, you know what I'm saying, should know their worth, and, you know, ownership. And, you know, if he ever had the ball in his court, you know what I'm saying, he would make sure that all of his guys are good. And come to find out, you know what I'm saying, Joe Budden is the very thing that he was denouncing on his podcast every single day. And it's almost one of those things where it's like, yo, like, Joe Budden, like, we're needing you to practice what you preach.
Yeah, he was kind of a walking contradiction and hypocrite in a way.
Yeah, like, we're needing you to practice what you preach, sir. Like, how can you sit there in your seat comfortably every day knowing that this is the kind of shit that was going on with the two people who, because Joe, from Joe's point of view, he's looking at it like, I was the creator of this podcast. What I say is what goes. You don't get to question me about anything. If you do question me about something, I'm gonna go off on you about it. And whatever I pay you is what I pay you, and that's that. You know what I'm saying? Because what I took away from Rory and Maul's response to me, this is what I was hearing, and then, you know, I also listened to Joe Budden's response to their response. Apparently, you know, Rory and Maul were in a profit partnership with Joe, where they were entitled to a certain percentage of the profits that were made from the Joe Budden podcast. They were not being paid on a salary basis, so it wasn't a fixed amount that they were supposed to be paid from the podcast.
Yeah, because I think Joe was trying to make it like they worked for him, and it was just like, oh, they were supposed to just get a certain percentage of whatever that made, or I guess whatever that episode, or whatever the amount that's made, they're just supposed to get their percentage. It's not everything is off of Joe, like he's paying them a salary or something like that. And I think that's almost how Joe was trying to paint it, like, y'all niggas work for me type of thing. And they were just like, no, we don't work for you, we work with you, like, type of thing. This is all our podcast, even though it says your name on it.
That is a fact. That is a fact. And, you know, that kind of confused me, because a lot of the responses to this were, you know, a lot of people were kind of saying, you know, you don't need Rory and Maul. We only watch this podcast for you. And that is absolutely not true. That is absolutely 100% not true. We watched the Joe Budden podcast for Joe Budden, Rory, and Maul. We did not watch the Joe Budden podcast just for Joe Budden. That is a
lot of people don't want to hear Joe Budden just by himself. People I want to hear Maul and Rory's thoughts on certain topics, and they come with an interesting, like, perspective on music, on just things in the media, things in politics, things in just culture, period. And I'd be wanting to hear their point of view. I don't want to always hear Joe yelling about something.
Facts. That is absolute facts. And yeah, he, like you said, he looked at it in a way where it was like, y'all work for me. And, you know, if you guys have an issue, you know, ain't nothing you can do about it. Basically, it ain't nothing you can do. You guys work for me. I created this Joe Budden podcast. The IP belongs to me, and that's just what it is. And
that trips me out because it makes me think like that don't eat you alive that you doing people dirty. Like you don't. It's almost like you have a seared conscience where you almost like you don't even. You literally like seared your conscience to where you don't care how other people feel, and it's just like, dang, it's kind of evil, low key, like or high key.
yeah, 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 and that's the way I looked at this whole thing. And it's kind of disheartening. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I think it kind of bothers me because, like I said, we had a whole episode where we talked about ownership, and Joe Budden was the main topic of that episode. And it's just unfortunate to see that he treated his friends the way that he did. But back to the business side of things, they were supposed to receive a percentage. Not they don't own a percentage of the podcast, but they are supposed to receive a percentage of the profits, and that would be what they're paid. That would be what they're supposed to be paid. And I think the problem that Rory and Mal had. Rory said something that I thought was interesting. He said something that I thought was interesting. He mentioned Elliott Wilson approaching him about a deal with Tidal.
Yeah.
And if you watch the Joe Budden podcast, they talked about that a lot. I thought that they should have done the deal with Tidal. Me personally, I think that that's where they should have lived because I just feel like, being under Hove, Black creators, it all goes hand in hand. So I thought that would have been the best thing for them to do. But Joe Budden later revealed that they weren't offering enough. But it was interesting to me that Rory said that he brought it up to Joe, and Joe
went off.
Upset. He went off and was upset.
That
to me would have been the first sign. If I'm Rory, because the way he said it was he didn't go to Elliott Wilson to try to work out a deal. He said Elliott Wilson approached him.
Brought it up to him. I'm like, why is Joe snapping at Rory when Elliott Wilson's like, I can possibly get y'all a podcast deal. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to Joe about it. And Joe is yelling off of something that Elliott Wilson brought up. Like, so why? That's like, man, you are a deranged person. Like, you're crazy, bro.
Yeah.
It's a suggestion. It ain't like we gotta do it. It's just because I'm just bringing you back some information that Elliott said he could do a deal with us, but we can talk about the deal or we can try to find another deal. But to go off when he's just suggesting or asking or seeing what they could do as a unit, as a group, I mean, it's kind of crazy to me on Joe's part.
Yeah, and just the way that Rory said that he responded, saying, you shouldn't be in the business of speaking about this podcast out, like when I'm not around or whatever the case may be. Like that right there should have been the first sign of like what Maul was saying, like, who is this nigga? Like who is this person? You know what I'm saying? And it's not even just the fact that Rory was trying to bring back information. Like he had an opportunity. Like he brought back an opportunity that he didn't. I don't want to say that he so much entertained it. It was brought to him, and he was like, what you just said, like, okay, like I'm gonna bring this information back to Joe, and we can discuss it. And from that, he got what he got, and that to me would have been the first time I would have been like, nah, like this ain't working. You know what I'm saying? This ain't working.
You gotta know when to leave something early, because the domino effect later down the line is gonna be worse. And I think that was the first red flag. I think that was the first red flag.
Right. That's a fact. And again, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Rory did say that, he was being naive and, Joe was his friend, that was his brother. So he just kind of brushed it off and didn't think anything of it. And, I can't blame him for that. Because, I mean,
as humans, we just, give somebody try to go off. I mean, not saying you're just going to take somebody going off, but I'm saying you probably try to set them straight and be like, oh, that's kind of wrong what you did, but you try to get them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's what Rory was doing. I think he gave Joe the benefit of the doubt that he wouldn't do that maybe later down the line, but it ended up happening again. So I think that's what happened. He gave him the benefit of the doubt. And it was like, he's not going to do something that crazy again. And look where we are today.
Yeah, and I think, man, it's just crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, 'cause I never would have thought that we would be here where we are. You know what I'm saying? And
years, bro, I thought they was gonna be doing episodes to 1,000 or whatever, or just forever. I thought they was gonna be just doing this for a long, long time. Which they did do it for a while, but I didn't think it would still be. And it's just like they were becoming just bigger and greater already like together. And I was like, oh, they're gonna go on a tour. Man, you're gonna be able to see them on tour. You might get a picture with all three of them. You just didn't know. And like, cause I know you met Joe Budden, but that was like for a concert. But I was like, we might get to meet Maul and Rory. And shoot, it might be a thing now where we just we might go see Maul and Rory like on some. Let's just see how they are if they do a tour type of thing. So, yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind just listening to a Rory and Maul podcast. And I think they do have one coming. I think they do have one.
I think it's coming. Yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah, I think they do have one coming. But yeah, after the title thing happened, they ended up getting a deal with Spotify, or I shouldn't even say they, I should say Joe, because at the end of the day, Joe was the one who was getting all the deals. And, it's crazy because I was wondering, like, whenever he got to Spotify, or whenever, he announced that they were with Spotify or whatever, I was wondering how that worked. Because, the whole time I was listening to the podcast, not that I was thinking, like, about their business or anything like that, but I was just wondering, like, because, podcasting it's never been this. Like, it's never been, where they have tours and they have, all this merch and all this different kind of shit going on, and then the Spotify deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really thought about any of that. And so I was just thinking to myself when I would watch the podcast, I would be like, I wonder how each of them gets paid. Like, I wonder how that works. You know what I'm saying?
Because I was like, they got sponsors,
I know they have a Cash App.
Yeah, the Cash App thing, and I was just like, how does that even? How do they disperse the money amongst them three and the other people that set up the equipment and that are on the set of that podcast? I was wondering that exact same thing, and I was just like, dude, I would wonder. I would like, does Joe get paid more? And then in my mind, I was like, I don't think he should get paid more, even though it's called the Joe Budden Podcast, but people watch it for all three of them. And then, some people might watch it for a certain individual, but I always wanted that too. And I was like, how does that whole thing work? Because I just felt like the business part of it was some shady stuff was going on.
Yeah, I was just curious of that. And, I won't even go as far as to say that, because I do think, since Joe Budden did create it, it was his idea. I do think that he should be the one that should see the most money. But, it shouldn't be where Rory and Maul are having to, question and ask for accounting and all that kind of shit. Like, it shouldn't come to that.
Yeah.
And it is kind of crazy because they did agree to a percentage profit agreement with Joe, but then Joe kind of explained that his deal with Spotify was really just for him, you know what I'm saying, and he couldn't speak about any of the profits or anything that was made. So it's just like, if you can't talk about it, then how exactly are you going to, pay Rory and Maul? Well, not how are you going to pay Rory and Maul, but you can understand that they're going to want to know, you know what I'm saying? They're going to want to know, like, that's why they ask for accounting. They're going to want to know what the numbers are looking like. You know what I'm saying? If you can't say anything, well, that's not good for anyone. You know what I'm saying? That's not good for anyone. You're telling me that I'm getting paid a percentage off of what this podcast makes, but I can't know what that number is. Is that what you're telling me?
That's like a be paid. That's like you just getting paid and just shut up about. Just be happy that you're getting what you're getting. Like, bro, who thinks like that? That's really like. And Maul, I think that was Maul that he said some type of analogy talking about, say if it's like, you know, three of us, and he used a club analogy as in like all three of us, like me, you, and somebody else are like getting in the club, and one of us don't have the right shoes, and two of y'all like just, or two of us just actually just still go in, and we just leaving our homie behind. Like, it's like, man, we're supposed to be a unit. And I think that's how Joe was doing with them. It's just like, man, I got the right outfit on to get in the club. Y'all niggas don't. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and go in. I hope y'all niggas make it in. Like, I feel like Joe was doing that with them. And I was like, that's actually the perfect analogy that Maul used, because I think that's how he was going about the business part of this whole podcast. And it's like, bruh, you're trying to eat, you're trying to eat the best out of everybody. Like, you're trying to just diminish everything that they did. That's kind of, yeah. Or I don't think, maybe he wasn't trying to make it sound like that when he was talking, but as far as the business part, it's proven. That's what he was doing. So.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I remember him making that analogy. That was the perfect analogy that he made.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it really is, man, it's terrible. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. And I feel like Joe Budden is not the only one. Like, there's probably a lot of people out here that are championing ownership, and they're doing the complete opposite. And it's just like, not to your homies, man. Not to the homies.
Nah. I feel like he's trying to do to them what the industry did to him.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, bro, that's messed up, bro.
Exactly.
It's almost like it's almost like you didn't heal from what the industry did to you, so you decided to do it to your homie, and now you burn bridges with some great people like that you had a whole podcast with, and now you're trying to fill seats up, like, you know, with two other people. Not, no disrespect to them, because the podcast is still good, but I'm saying you're just throwing away people, but you're doing that all throughout these different ventures you're going on, like media wise, with Everyday Struggle, with State of the Culture, with your own podcast. It's like, bruh, it's a whole domino effect. You keep doing it. There's a whole pattern of you doing it. And yeah, I really feel like that's what it is. He's doing things to them that the industry did to him. And it's just like, bruh, you haven't healed from that. You're literally putting something on them that the industry did to you. And that's the incorrect way to go about it. Like,
yeah, and I think this is his way of stepping into that boss role that we talked about. And I don't really see it as him being a boss. I see it as him being the boss. And when I say that there's two differences, you can't sit here and call yourself a boss if this is the way that you're treating, you know what I'm saying, your employees, which Rory and Maul shouldn't be seen as just employees, because, you know, whether Joe Budden created Joe Budden Podcast or not, Rory and Maul, they did help build what is known to be the Joe Budden Podcast. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you could make the argument, you could say that there probably would be a Joe Budden Podcast without Rory and Maul, whatever, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. And I don't see how the two, you know, Ish and Ice, I don't really see how, I don't think that's going to last very long. I thought about that too. I was like, are they gonna wanna,
I was like, they saw what just happened. So do they really want to be in the same position, or do they really want to be on some just like, man, I'm getting paid, so I'm gonna just shut up. You know what I'm saying? Me, I can't just shut up. I'm not that type of person. I'm not just gonna shut up. I don't know. I speak truth to power, bro. I gotta speak about what's being done to me. I can't be just get done wrong and be like, well, I'm getting paid for it, so it is what it is. Nah, I got a whole nother type of mindset. But I thought about them too. I was just like, are they gonna wake up one day and just be like, I mean, I saw what he just did to them two. I'm pretty sure he's doing it to me. I don't know how that's gonna go. Or I'm wondering, did he try to work out a deal where he seemed like he's doing the business right with them because he got it wrong with Rory and Mal? Or it's like you don't know with Joe Budden. But my thing is, I feel like he's not doing that. He's probably doing the same thing. They're just probably being a little more hush hush about it.
Rory, no. Rory said it in their response. He said that Joe Budden said that I can get both of them for the price of the half of one of you.
He really did say that. And so that means he is doing it. I do remember that he said that. Yeah, that's terrible.
With that being said, because there were a lot of conspiracies that Joe was pushing Rory and Mal out on purpose so that he could get two people in there to pay a salary to, versus giving a percentage, which I don't know if you want to call that smart, or I don't know what you want to call that, but I mean, ultimately, if that's the case, then yes, Joe Budden would be paying them two less, you know what I'm saying, than what he paid Rory and Mal. And ultimately, I just think that it's just Joe Budden trying to protect his creation, and he's just doing it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? He's doing it the wrong way. I think every great creator, you know what I'm saying, they're open to other people coming in and helping perfect their creation. And I don't really think there's anything wrong, you know what I'm saying, with I think Joe Budden just can't. It's his ego. It's his ego thing. It's his ego thing of, I don't want anybody to be able to say that they had a hand in what I created. That's his problem. You know what I'm saying? And you can take that all the way back to his music career. You know what I'm saying? You can take it back to Everyday Struggle. That's why I kind of wanted to go through the timeline, so we can kind of lay out on the table that Joe Budden is the issue. I think that Joe Budden is the problem. He's the fucking problem. I mean, he's, at the end of the day, he's the issue. You know what I'm saying? But him, the business side of things, you know what I'm saying, whenever they were responding with that, that really was just like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes back to what we talked about. Like, I do agree with the saying that, business and friends don't mix. You know what I'm saying? I do agree with that. But I think that Joe's relationship with Mal, like, this shouldn't have been, you know what I'm saying, the way that Mal was so fucking passionate in that response. Like, he was like, I had never seen Mal upset like that before. Like, I've never seen Mal mad like he was. And one thing that I will say that I wish didn't happen during this whole thing is the back and forth on social media. Like, the whole Twitter responses and them going back and forth, like, all that shit was ugly. Like, that, this is the type of shit that needs to stay off the internet. You know what I'm saying? Period. Like, this stuff like this needs to get handled behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
It goes back to what we said, man. Like, this is real life shit. This is real life shit. Friendships were ended, and I think that Mal is somebody that needed to be in Joe's corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was explaining, he was the one who handled that Consequence situation. I know we all remember seeing Consequence punch Joe Budden in the back of the head, and that shit was looking crazy. He said that, Joe, he was the one who kind of handled that situation. And you know, just hearing Maul on the podcast, like you can just hear how solid of a person he is. You know what I'm saying? I don't really, again, I don't know too much about, you know, Rory's and Joe's relationship because, you know, Rory came later. They speak a lot about Maul and Joe's relationship. So I just, you know, I realized like how far their friendship how far back their friendship goes. But yeah, like just hearing how passionate Maul was and that response was crazy to me. And you know, Rory saying that, you know, them pretty much wanting to know what the numbers were is what caused all of this. And that's when you know something is not right. If you want to know what the numbers are and stuff like that, and you don't know anything, you don't have any information, like I think you should want to know, you know what I'm saying, if you're being paid correctly, if you're contributing. Because I would like to say that Joe, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I think when people watch the Joe Budden podcast, it's probably, you know, maybe, I want to say maybe 60% for Joe, and then the other 40% is for Rory and Maul. But Rory and Maul, they contribute a lot. They contribute a lot. So at the end of the day, I would think that they would and they should want to know, you know what I'm saying? Like what are the numbers? You know what I'm saying? Like what are the numbers? I want to know, you know, if we're, because even Maul was saying, like, you know, there would be times when you know, they would sell out a venue of 3,000 people and then sometimes sell out a venue of 5,000 people and the payout would be the same. You know what I'm saying? So things just were looking kind of weird. As
hell, bro. That's gonna make me question something. I'm gonna be like, something ain't right here, bro.
Yeah, and you know, I think to Joe's point, you know, maybe ticket pricing might be different in some cities, and you know, I don't know, like maybe VIPs and stuff may cost different and things like that. But if it's a huge difference in the payout, I would think, you know, they would want to know, you know what I'm saying, what the numbers are looking like. And if you ask that, and like Rory said, he asked, and Joe, being Joe, blew up. You know what I'm saying? He got defensive about that, and again, that would be one of those times where I would be like, all right, like something's off here, like something's wrong here. And then, you know, they said that, you know, Joe was the one who actually said that Rory and Maul wanted to audit him. And in their response, and Rory and Maul's response, they said that Joe was actually the one that brought that up. He was the one that brought that up, just being defensive at the fact that they wanted to look at the numbers and stuff like that. So if he's the one that's bringing that up, you know what I'm saying? I think something must be off. Something must be off with that. And then whenever they did get the numbers in the accounting, they said that it was sent to them on an Excel spreadsheet. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not an expert when it comes to accounting. I know my mom does accounting, but you know, I don't look at all that shit. I don't really understand it. I don't really know none of that shit. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know what any of that shit is. But them just saying that they got the numbers back on an Excel spreadsheet, even with me not knowing anything, that sounds like no. Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's a hell no.
Yeah. So that was another one where I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all should have been like y'all should have been handled this shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the business side of it was fucked up. Joe started acting differently. But you have to think about them dealing with the fucked up business side and then Joe's fucked up ass attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
that's too much.
So all of that combined with the academic situation, academics is slandering Rory and Maul 100 miles per hour. Joe isn't saying anything. He's kind of just letting them deal with that. The energy was off. And then, you know, the infamous, you know, you should take a break. take a couple of days off the podcast. We talked about that, and the way Joe went about that was stupid. You know what I'm saying? It was dumb. He was saying that they abandoned the podcast when in reality he was the one who said that we should take a break. That didn't make sense to me. And it's just crazy. It's crazy how, like I said, like Joe has a way with words, and he tries to really rationalize a lot of the things that he does. And it's really like borderline like psycho. You know what I'm saying? Like borderline.
That's psychotic behavior, bro.
Borderline crazy. And then Rory was fired, and I think that this is pretty much the end of the Joe Budden podcast. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know that they have Ish and Ice, and I like Ish and Ice. I think they're both dope. They're both dope additions to the podcast, but people are gonna really see, in the near future, that Rory and Mal were essential to that podcast. They're really about to find that out. And I don't think that you can just replace, you can't just replace those pieces.
Nah, when something is magic and it works, it never is the same after what happened with Joe. And shoot, with Rory and Mal starting their podcast, who's to say they might be bigger than Joe Budden's podcast? You never know. Anything is possible. Like, that could possibly happen with them two together.
Yeah, the universe has a funny way of working, man. The universe has a funny way of working. We very well may see Rory and Mal have the #1 podcast and Joe Budden not have anything. It's possible.
That could legit happen.
It could happen, and I don't know if you've right around the time that Rory and Mal put out their response video, Olivia Dope came out, and she had some things to say.
Yep.
And we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that because that was crazy. That was crazy to me. It's a lot of stuff there. In closing the Rory and Mal thing, man, the only thing that I have to say is that I think, I hope that Joe realizes that he made a huge mistake with this. He burned two bridges that I really feel like is going to be detrimental to him in the long run. You can't keep maneuvering this way in business, man. He's messed up way too many different situations. And at this point, before all the people that would speak out against Joe Budden, would say that he's crazy and say that he's, kind of off, we really didn't really have much to go off of, but now we're seeing it happen right before our very eyes. And, it's hard to see. It's really hard to see. While we say that Joe Budden is an inspiration to this podcast, man, I really hope Joe gets his shit together. I really hope Joe gets his shit together, because my stance where I said Joe Budden ain't shit, that still stands. I think that Joe Budden ain't shit. He's not shit. He totally maneuvered this situation in the wrongest of wrong ways that you can possibly do it. And I just want to salute to Rory and Mal. I hope they do start this podcast up. I would definitely listen to it.
Tune in, bro. I'm tuning in.
I would definitely tune in. And I was one of those people too. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I was one of those people who, when I would watch the Joe Budden podcast, Mal was one of the main. Like, I would always say, like, I love Mal. Like, Mal is one of the funniest niggas to me. Yeah. To me, he is hilarious. And I think that even without Rory, I think Mal should do something. He needs to do something. I know he has his ties with Rock Nation. He's close with Jay. Figure something out with Mal, man. Figure something out with Mal. Let's get that ball rolling, man. If Rory and Maul don't figure out their podcast situation, let's get something with Maul. And salute to Roy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to shit on Rory or anything like that. Salute to him. And Joe, I don't know, man. I don't know, Joe. I mean, we've lost Slaughterhouse because of you. We lost Everyday Struggle because of you. A lot of people wouldn't add Everyday Struggle on there, but I am. I don't give a fuck. We lost Everyday Struggle because of you. We're pretty soon going to lose the Joe Budden Podcast because of you, Joe.
State of the Culture, I'm pretty sure it was because of him.
State of the Culture, fam, Joe. Like, come on, man.
That's like multiple things, bro. Like man.
It's sad.
And I used to like and I would be waiting for. I mean, he hasn't done it in a while, but his pull-up interviews, he hasn't done that. But I'm wondering after this, are people going to even want to do that?
Oh yeah. I think one thing I will say is I think that Joe Budden, he's always gonna figure some shit out. If the Joe Budden,
I noticed that too. I noticed that too.
If the Joe Budden podcast ends tomorrow, he'll be back with something else. He'll be back with something else. He'll probably come out and be like, "Hey, I'm starting a new radio show where I have so and so and so and so as my co-host, and we're gonna interview." You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be something. He's gonna come with something, or like we said, I think that him and DJ Academics, they have the opportunity to do something. Like I think they could definitely take the idea of Everyday Struggle somewhere. Like they could bring that somewhere. Like that to me is worth something. So he could do something with DJ Academics. So it's almost like when he burns bridges and closes doors, like he opens up another one. He opens up another one to burn.
I be thinking like, when is that one gonna burn?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like he closes one, he burns one bridge, he opens up another one, and it's only a matter of time before he burns that one as well. So
like, I'm burn it in a few years.
Yeah,
like, it lasts for a few years or a few however long, but they'll be like, I'll be thinking it's gonna burn eventually. To see, that's really bad though. That's bad when you be like, dang, when is this bridge gonna eventually burn because of Joe? That's kind of bad. It's like your mind is already thinking, dang, I love this, but I know it's not about to last because of Joe Budden.
Yeah, man. Joe Budden is one of those people. He's like Meek Mill. It's like it's hard to be your fan, fam. Like it's so hard to be a fan of Joe Budden. And
exactly.
Man,
exactly.
Man, like it sucks. It really sucks because just like Everyday Struggle, how I was a huge fan of Everyday Struggle, I was very, very upset whenever Joe Budden left Everyday Struggle. And now that the Joe Budden podcast is pretty much in the shithole. You know what I'm saying? It's like one less thing that I have to look forward to every week. You know, I remember when Everyday Struggle was coming on, and I would wait. Like I was subscribed to Complex. I didn't unsubscribe to Complex now, but I was subscribed to Complex back then. And as soon as I would get that notification of a new Everyday Struggle episode, I would click that shit and I would sit there and watch it while I was at work, at lunch, or on break or whatever. You know, same thing for the Joe Budden podcast. You know, and now it's just like, you know what I'm saying? I like Ish and Ice, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not gonna have the same effect. It's not gonna.
The quality. It's like when something is made a certain way with certain people, and it's just like the quality of it is so good, and then you just switch up the people and the way everything was. It's like it messes up everything. It's like it's not what it was. You always miss what it was and where it was going. And I just noticed Joe he always messes it up, bro. It's crazy. Like it's tiring to see. Like it's like, bruh, we want to see you be successful and have good people around you, but you keep messing up. And I'm like, bruh, you are the problem, bro. If you're not serious, it's just like, bruh.
It's like Joe Budden is trying to get to that Hove status where
he's going about it wrong. Exactly.
Yeah, he's trying to get to that Hove status, but you're doing it all wrong. Like you're doing it the wrong way. Like you can't be a boss like that. And I don't know.
You're moving on. You're moving like really bad out here. He has that potential. I mean, maybe not to be as big as Jay-Z, but he has that potential to go to higher heights in music, in like maybe not even just rapping because he retired from rapping, but I'm saying just in media, and he could have a whole production if he went about certain things right, if he seemed more genuine, but people are not wanting to deal with this dude, and you're burning bridges with people you ain't even met yet that wanted to possibly work with you. And I'm talking about they probably was touching millions and millions of more dollars that you could have touched, but just because they saw the way you move, they don't want to even deal with you now. So he's burned bridges that hasn't even been built yet. Like it's like, bruh, killed something before it could even begin.
Yeah, man.
Bad,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, man. Look, after this, I hope that I don't want to talk about Joe Budden no more after this. Like I'm done. I'm finished. I don't want to talk about Joe Budden. You know, the whole Olivia Dope thing, that shit was crazy to me because I remember watching that episode that he was on. Like I remember watching that episode, and so I guess I should just start like this. So Olivia, so when the Joe Budden Network officially like started, he had the podcast, his podcast, and then of course he started a few other podcasts. So he started See the Thing Is with Bridget Kelly, Mandy B, and Olivia Dope, and then he started Girl I Guess with Karen Civil, and I think it's Lean Me on that podcast, which both podcasts are dope. Like both podcasts are dope. I like to See the Thing Is podcast. It really gives you perspective, from a woman's point of view.
Yeah, that and I actually enjoy that because it makes you be like, oh, okay, hearing things from a woman's perspective is pretty interesting. It's like it just gives you a better understanding of how certain women think or how women think in certain ways. So I was just like, this is interesting.
Yeah, and it was literally the opposite. Like it would, Joe Budden's podcast, they would do the topics and it would be three dudes just sitting around shooting the shits. And you have See the Thing Is where they would do the same thing. They would talk about topics, the same topics that Joe Budden would talk about, but it would be women. It would be the women's perspective on certain things. And I remember watching the episode that he was on the See the Thing Is podcast, and I just remember watching it and just being like, this is mad uncomfortable. Like this is so uncomfortable, it's not even funny. Like I think the problem with Joe is he thinks that everybody he can treat everybody the way that he treats his friends. You know what I'm saying? He was talking to them the way he talks to Rory and Maul, and it's like you can't do that because these are women at the end of the day.
I'm telling you, bro, it's like he carries the same energy everywhere, but you kind of got to know how to adapt to the situation or the people that you're around, because it's like you shouldn't talk to your friend like you talk to somebody, a stranger or somebody on the street or something like that. I'm not saying that you should even talk to somebody on the street crazy, but I'm saying you don't know them and you shouldn't talk to somebody like you should handle certain people certain ways. And the way I would think,
especially women.
Yeah, especially women. Like you shouldn't handle your friends or you shouldn't handle women a certain way. And it's like it seemed like he brought the same energy, negative energy to women the same way he brought to his friends, the same way he brought to a interview of people that he don't even know, but he's just speaking on his perspective. I'm just like, bro, you take the same energy everywhere, and that's not good. Like you need to know how to kind of adapt and maneuver, like in different ways in different rooms, and he was not doing that. He was kind of just the same way everywhere, and I'm like,
yo, he was talking to them crazy. Like he was talking to them like they were just like nothing. You know what I'm saying? And
bro.
you know, when I remember, like I said, I remember watching that episode, and I was like, like I don't know how they even still are able to like they sat there for that whole, I think that episode was like 2 hours, and they laughed and they joked, and I was just like, I don't know how the hell.
That's
I feel
not.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like they should have backhanded him at some point.
Money is not that good to me. The money is never that good to be talked to crazy.
And I mean, during the episode, Mandy, she did check him. She did check him during the episode, but just to give some, you know, the people backstory, Olivia Dope, she was one of the members of the See the Thing Is podcast, and out of nowhere, she was just not on it anymore. Like out of nowhere, she was just no longer there. And I remember, you know, seeing that the first time, and I was like, I wonder what happened to Olivia Dope. And I didn't think anything of it. Like I didn't think it was because of Joe. I just thought, you know, like she maybe podcasting like it wasn't her thing or something like that. And maybe she was just like, I don't want to do this or whatever the case may be. But after the Rory and Mal response came out, she put out her response. Well, not her response, but a video of her kind of explaining how she felt uncomfortable working under Joe. And she referenced one of the episodes, the episode that we're speaking of the See the Thing Is podcast, when Joe Budden was on it. And she went over various different things that Joe Budden did during that episode that were kind of creepy, kind of borderline harassment, like, you know what I'm saying? And it made me go back to that episode, and because I wanted to kind of see for myself, like, you know, because she gave timestamps, and she was talking about certain parts that were edited out. You know, there were moments when, you know, Joe Budden was like, you know, telling her that he wanted to fuck her on camera. Crazy shit that you just like, what? Like crazy shit that you just don't do in a room full of women. You know what I'm saying? And I went back and I watched the episode, and yeah, you can, if the timestamps that she gives, you can see where it was edited. Mm-hmm. And you know, she was given the opportunity after they recorded that episode. You know, they asked her if they wanted to leave that stuff in, and you know, that to me is kind of like, that's kind of weird, because it's like if you're having to ask the woman, you know what I'm saying, if she wanted to leave that stuff in because maybe she felt uncomfortable or something like that, shouldn't you as the network, or, you know, people that are there on production, the crew, whatever, shouldn't y'all tell Joe to relax? Like, shouldn't y'all be the one saying, like, Joe, like, you know what I'm saying, like, relax, you know what I'm saying? Instead of having this whole 2-hour conversation go on, and then at the end, you know, finally pull her aside and be like, would you like to leave this stuff in? You know, we know you may have been uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not creating a safe environment, you know what I'm saying, for women, you know what I mean?
That's why women feeling like they're not protected because of situations like that, and they be like, and in that sense, they don't be feeling like certain black men are protecting black women, because it almost be feeling like that with Joe. Sometimes they be like, bruh, you on some fugazi type stuff, and now it don't even look like you want to protect us, and it almost make it look like you kind of trying to humiliate us, make us look crazy. And now that's kind of, it's almost getting past the media stuff. It's coming down to just the whole type of black man that you are, or man that you are. And it's just like, you looking real bad in the streets now.
And it's so funny that you say that, because on that episode, he kept talking about how he was a black king. Like he kept reiterating that. but in in the next clip he would be calling them bitches and all that kind of shit. And Mandy, she checked him. She was like, you can't do that. Like, you can't be calling us a bitch unless it comes with like a neck roll or you're snapping your fingers. Like, if you're gay, you can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, because I think he thinks because he runs the network, it's just like, well, they should be able to take it because I mean I own it. But like I said, I'm the type of person, if I'm working with somebody or whatever, they can't be calling me out my name and all of this constantly, and I'm working like, nah. That's what I'm saying. The money for me is not that good to be talked down upon and all of that. I'm not taking stuff just because the money is good. I got to step away, and so
Yeah,
yep.
and I think it was that, and I also just think that it kind of showed us that he just kind of saw them like he didn't have like he didn't see any value in them, I guess, so to speak, because I don't think that he would talk that way to Karen Civil. I know for a fact he wouldn't speak that way to Karen Civil on Karen Civil's podcast.
Bruh, what you allow is what will continue, and that's how I live, bro. Like, you allowing somebody to treat you dirty, talk to you crazy, and if you keep allowing it, they just gonna keep doing it, and you got to get fed up sometime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And what you said about the money thing, like, you're absolutely right, because while Olivia Dope did feel uncomfortable, and she said in the episode that she felt very uncomfortable at the end. Like, at the end of the episode before it went off, she was like, I feel this is uncomfortable. This is mad uncomfortable. There were several times when Joe Budden talked about wanting to fuck her, and he alluded to them maybe having a prior relationship before, which she said that they did not. There was a clip of him giving her a hug, and like he was making weird body movements on her and stuff like that. And while all this was going on, even though Mandy kind of checked him about calling them bitches, they were still like, Mandy and Bridget were still kind of laughing and kikiing and shit. So it was almost to me like Olivia
Toxic.
Yeah, it was almost like Olivia Dope was just like, yeah, I'm not fixing to stick around and deal with this. And Bridget and Mandy, at the end of the day, like, they're still there because, I guess, the Joe Budden Network has provided them with an opportunity that they don't want to let go. But it just kind of goes to show that Joe didn't, he didn't really give a fuck about the way he behaved on that episode. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally, I don't know if you've watched that episode, but if you go watch it, like, he is literally,
I need to,
like, talking to them like they're just like animals. Like, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And when I first saw that, I was just like, come on, Joe, like, here's what I will say. This is what I will say. In no way, shape, or form do I agree with the way he was acting in that episode. But I think in Joe's mind, he was harmless. Like I said, he was talking, he thought he could talk to them the way he talks to Rory and Mal. And I think in his mind, I don't think he was trying to be disrespectful or trying to come off as that. And really, you can't not do that, because once you do all the things that Olivia Dope was saying that was making her feel uncomfortable. Once a woman says that she feels uncomfortable, that's it. Like, there's, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she says she's uncomfortable, you need to stop. You need to relax. You need to chill. You know what I'm saying? So while I do think that Joe in his mind was thinking that, I'm just here, I'm shooting the shits like I do with my boys. You know what I'm saying? No. You know what I'm saying? And we spoke about this on the podcast before too. Like, I'm not, and this is just me as a person. Like, I'm not trying to simp. I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, trying to cape or nothing like that. It's not in my behavior or in my personality to just be calling women bitches and hoes and just be, handling women any kind of way and treating women any kind of way. Like, that's just not who I am. And we're in a time where I feel like that type of behavior is normalized. Like it's normal to just be calling women bitches and shit. And it's just like, no, it's not. Like that's not okay. And it's not my character. That's not who I am. I just don't be calling women bitches and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that type of shit is not okay with me. And you know, watching the episode, like I said, it was very, very uncomfortable to watch, you know, him just referring to them as bitch and calling them bitch and all this kind of shit. And you know, I mean, I know people that be talking like that, and it's just like I'm not with that. Like I'm not with this new generation in the way, you know, niggas be handling women. Like I'm not with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that. And like I said, like, you know, Olivia Dope, like she got a lot of backlash, and that's another thing that I'll never understand, because a lot of people were like, you know, why are you waiting till now to come out? Why are you waiting till why'd you wait this many months and all this kind of shit? And it's just like, is that really where we're at? Like, you do know that women are afraid to come out because of that kind of response. You do know that, right?
Exactly.
Like, women are already uncomfortable because they feel like they don't have anyone there to protect them. She didn't have anyone there to protect her on the set, clearly, because Joe just kept acting crazy. And Joe should know better because of all of the allegations that he's had with other women in his past.
Exactly. I'm about to bring that up. I'm like, because Joe has had, you know, other allegations of physically harming and stuff like that. So,
and that's another thing. In regards to the Olivia Dope situation, a lot of people were saying, you know, the allegations that Joe was saying this and allegations that Joe was saying that to her. And it's just like, fam, it's not an allegation because we literally have a 2-hour episode with him saying all of these things on camera. So it's not an allegation. It happened. And you can't.
It's on camera.
Yeah, you can't sit here and try to make it seem like Olivia Dope is just coming out to, you know, join in on this you know, this imaginary smear campaign that's going against Joe right now. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, I don't know what's going on out here. These are weird times that we're living in. And you know, in regards to her situation, I hope that she's able to, because I could tell, you know, that she was very, very, you know, disturbed, and you know, just her body language and the way that she was talking in the video where she was explaining what happened on that episode. I could tell that she was just, you know, like it really fucked with her, man. Like that whole thing really fucked with her, and you know, I hope that she's able to get the healing that she needs. And you know, for all the women that are out there that go through this kind of shit, man, you know, we as men got to do better. We got to do better. And that's on all fronts. That's men just, you know, out there that are being sexual predators and, you know, harassing women, and to the response. You know what I'm saying? To the response of that, you know, Joe, get your shit together, man.
Please, bro. Go to a therapist. Seek help, bro. Please.
Yeah, and you know, he's had a pretty troubled career, you know, in his music. If you go listen to Joe Budden's music, you can hear that, you know, he's been suicidal. You know what I'm saying? He's abused drugs. You know, he's had a rough career. He's had a very, very rough career. And, you know, I really don't know what else to say at this point. I hope Rory and Mal, you know, figure their situation out. You know, yeah, man. I don't really have anything else to say in regards to this.
Yeah, I think I said all I had to say, but yeah, I'm hoping the best for Rory and Mal. Joe, go see a therapist. Yeah, man, and that's really all I got to say on it. Is I hope everybody put their best foot forward going forward in this whole situation. And even if that means not, reuniting with Joe, sometimes that's the best thing, is to not go back to what messed up everything. Sometimes it's just good to just move forward and just let all that past stuff go. But sometimes moving forward don't mean rekindling things with people. Sometimes it just means moving forward and just, that's it. And so,
Well said. Well said. I agree with you 100%. Rest in peace to the Joe Budden Podcast. It was a good run.
yeah, man.
You know, yeah, man. We'll be back at you guys with the music talk in the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 55 of the TNT Podcast. Salute to all the creators out there. Don't let business ruin your friendships. Get all that shit in order, man. Salute to everybody. Peace and love. We'll catch you guys next time. It's TNT, and we're out of here.
Out of here.
Peace.